Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Should Read. Today I'm bringing to you a new reading vlog series. This one in particular, I'll be reading the top 20 young adult fiction of 2019. So this is a new series that I decided to do maybe a day ago, and I'm really excited to do it because I have been dying to read these books, and I thought what better way than for me to try to read the books that actually won or were nominated in the Goodreads Choice Awards. So those are the top 20 books I'm aiming for, and to be honest, this title is somewhat misleading because I'm not actually reading the top 20 books. There are a few exceptions. The first one is that some of these books I already read, so I am not going to be rereading them. And second of all, this whole reading vlog series is for me to actually pick up the books that I am already interested in that also somehow happen to be a finalist for the Goodreads Choice Award. And I will also be reading through each category for the Goodreads Choice Award. There are some exceptions, obviously, like books I'm just not interested in or categories I'm not interested in, such as poetry or cookbooks or nonfiction, etc. So there are some exceptions for that, but for the most part I will be going through all the different categories. At least that's what I'm aiming for. And the third exception is that there are some books in series, and if it's a book in a series and it is a very far along book in a series, I most likely will not get to it because then I have a lot of catching up to do. That being said though, there are some series I am really interested in, and I think they are the second or third book in a series, in which case I might actually be able to read it. So I don't know, fingers crossed for those. But those are the three exceptions essentially that I gave myself, because end of the day, this is my reading vlog. This is the books I'm reading, so I make the rules here. So I'm just really excited to actually get into all of these. Originally my plan was to read the top 10, but I realized that in some of the categories I already read some of the books, a good majority, and there wouldn't be that many books for me to pick up. So I decided to open it up to the top 20 and hopefully just go from there. And I'm just gonna go through one by one, let you guys know if I'm picking it up, if I already read them, what I'm gonna do for that particular book in this video. So the book that actually won for this category is 5 Feet Apart. This book I am not planning to read. This was never on my TBR, so I will not be picking up for this video. Then the second runner-up is actually On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. This one I am going to read. This has been on my TBR for so long now, and I'm finally excited to get a chance to read this now. Like, I needed a reason, and this video, this series has given me a reason to pick this up, like to bump it up on my TBR. And also, before I continue, I do want to say that because of the nature of this video, I think I'll be giving you guys an update after I read each book. That way it will allow me to update you guys once with the summary and my thoughts and feelings after reading it. So I will not be providing updates as I read each book because I think that'd just be a lot of updates. Instead, I would just give you guys one update per book after I read it, if that makes any sense. Let me know if that's something you guys prefer. If you guys prefer booktubers to give you guys updates after they read the book, that way they can give you an actual good summary of the book as well as their thoughts and feelings, or if you prefer updates throughout the book, because I tend to do that for my regular reading vlogs. But I think for this particular video, just because of the nature of all the books I'm reading, the number of books, etc., it just makes more sense for me personally to give you guys an update after each book. So let me know which one you guys prefer. Then the third final up is With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is another book that I will be picking up. This has also been in my TBR for who knows how long, guys, like way too long, and I am so excited to read this book. I read her previous book. I think it's her debut. I might be wrong. It's The Poet X, and I loved it. The next runner-up is Two Can Keep a Secret by Karen McManus, and I have high hopes with this one as well because I really enjoyed One of Us Is Lying. It's a really great YA thriller. This one is also a YA thriller. Then the next book is The Fountains of Silence by RUTA SEPETYS. This one is another one that I am really excited for. I mean, to be honest, all these I'm really excited for because I actually own all of these books. So the fact that I haven't read them yet, I'm just like, ugh. So this is the next book. I am really thrilled to pick this up soon. I've heard amazing things about this author. I haven't read any of her books before, even though I do own another one, I believe. I forget what that one's called. But I do know her previous books, and honestly, I just heard amazing things about her writing and her story that I cannot wait to pick this up soon. Then the next book is Again by Better by Christine Riccio. This one I already read, and as you can see, I give this book 1 star. It might even be half a star. It was terrible. I hated this book. I am honestly surprised that it is on here because a lot of people I know who have also read this book had very low ratings for it as well. So I think this also goes to show that end of the day, this Goodreads Choice Award is a popularity contest, but it's fine, like whatever. But I hated that book, so that goes to show something. Anyways, next book on here is I Wish You All the Best by Mason Deaver. This one I also read before and I really enjoyed it. I give this book 4 or 4.5 stars. Then the next book over here is The Vanishing Stair by Maureen Johnson. I also read this book recently. I gave this book 3 stars. I think it suffers some second book syndrome, but I'm really excited for the third book, which came out already, but I haven't picked it up yet, so I need to pick it up soon. Then the next book is American Royals, which was my choice actually. I really enjoyed this book. I give this book 4.5 stars. It was amazing, and I just saw the cover for the sequel and it is stunning. Like, I cannot wait for this next book. Then the next book is The Rest of the Story by Sarah Dessen. This one I will be reading and I'm really excited. Sarah Dessen has been one of my favorite authors of all time. I just remember her very fondly in middle school or high school, and I read all of her books. I don't think I've read any of her books recently, so I don't know why actually. It would be very nostalgic just going back into a Sarah Dessen book because I feel like I grew up with her books, so I'm really excited for this one. Then the next book is Capturing the Devil by Carrie Maniscalco. This one is iffy. This is one that I'm not sure if I'll pick up yet because I haven't read the series, but I do have Stalking Jack the Ripper, which I believe is book 1, and Haunting Prince Dracula. This is book 2, I believe. So I do have books 1 and 2. I don't have books 3, I don't think. If I did, I couldn't find it, so I'm assuming I only have these 2 books. So I don't know, this is unlikely that I would get to it, but at the same time I do really want to pick up the series, so there's a chance. I don't know, I'll let you guys know because this video will be like 1 month in the making because I'm reading 10 books, guys. So yeah, we'll see after 1 month and see how far I got along to reading all these books, and if I have time I may be able to binge read this entire series and read Capturing the Devil as well. So this is a maybe. Then the next book over here is Interment, which I have read. I give this book 4 or 4.5 stars. That was a very good, strong book. Then this next book, which I will be reading as well, is The Princess and the Fangirl. This is the one book that I couldn't find. I do have it, I just don't know where it is. So I looked everywhere. Like, I scoured through my entire house, all the boxes, well, some of the boxes. I didn't go through all of them because some of them are just like between things and I couldn't reach it. So I went through what I could and I couldn't find this book. So I will try to pick up as an audiobook, or maybe I'll try to find it later on as I get through some more books. I don't know. But as of right now, it's somewhere, most likely in one of my boxes. I just don't know which one. But I will be reading this book though. Then this next book, Frankly in Love, I have read. I actually did a whole reading vlog on it, so I will link that above for you guys to check it out. The next book is Serious Moonlight by Jenn Bennett. This one I will be picking up. I've heard really cute things about this book. Then this next book is Opposite of Always by Justin A. Reynolds. This one I will be picking up as well. Then this next book that I will be picking up is The Grey Seer by Kim Liggett. This one I've heard some mixed reviews, I think, but overall I'm really intrigued by this concept. Then the next book over here is Lovely War by Julie Berry. I had read this book early last year and I loved it. It was like a really nice book. I gave it 4 or 4.5 stars. Then this next book is Love from A to Z, which I have read already, and I gave this book also 4 stars, I believe. And then the final book, guys, is Birthday by Meredith Russo. This book I will be picking up. Honestly, I got this book before the whole drama happened with this author, and I don't know what to think about it, but I do have this book, and this book did make it to the top 20, so I will be reading it. But I am definitely going to go in it with more of a grain of salt, I suppose. But this book did only get just over 1,000 votes, so I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I picked up this book before that drama happened, and I don't know what to think, guys, because I actually really liked the previous book, If I Was Your Girl. So basically, these are the 10 books or so that I will be picking up in this video. I hope I did not make a mistake, but we'll see, I guess. So anyways, that is it in terms of this very long intro. I had to make sure that we were all on the same page, and there's just a lot of info for you guys, so you guys know what I'm doing, the books I am reading, etc, and I cannot be more excited to pick up all these books. Basically, I just wanted a reason for me to bump up these books, and I provided that reason for myself, so really happy about that. Anyways, that is it in terms of this update, and I shall update you guys later once I get to reading my first book. So hopefully that will be soon, and we'll see. Hey guys, so it has been, I don't know how long to be honest, since I have filmed my intro clip, but I did manage to finally pick up my first book and finish it, and that is With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. This one was freaking amazing. I loved it. It was so good. So this book follows a high school teenager girl called Emily who was pregnant during her freshman year. So she now has a baby girl who is about, I would say, 2 or 3 years old. Right now she is currently in her senior year, and she's trying to juggle really with expenses, money, trying to do what she can for her daughter, etc., while also trying to figure out what she wants to do for her future. And the thing is, she has had this passion for cooking ever since she was very young, but because of her little baby girl and because of money being tight, finances, etc., she's not really able to pursue that as much as she wants. So this book kind of follows her struggle with trying to find out what she wants to do in her future. And then one day she finds out that there is an elective in her school. It's a culinary class, and of course she just can't not attend this class. And from there she experiences so much stuff about culinary, about cooking, about pursuing her dream, and this book is just so good. I loved it. I think the best part about this book was that the characters were just so relatable and very realistic, and the fact that this book was all about food and her obsession and passion for it just made me so hungry for most of this book. I was just like, I want to try whatever she's making because they sound phenomenal, especially because she somehow has this knack of combining flavors that no one has really thought about before but ends up tasting amazing, and they just sound so good. I also love the fact that this book also has some sort of like recipes inside. There's a few recipes sprinkled throughout the book, and honestly I kind of want to try the recipes and see if they're amazing because some of them sound really good. I also loved how rich this book was in terms of the culture and family. So anyways, overall this book was fantastic. This book was just a fun read. I just flew through it within maybe a day or two because I just couldn't stop reading it. It was just so good. Anyways, that is it in terms of this update, but I loved it. I think I'm gonna give this book 5 stars. It was just so good, guys. There's really nothing about this book that was bad. But anyways, now that I have finally finished the first book, I've decided to pick up my second, which is this one over here. You can't see the cover, but it is Two Can Keep a Secret by Karen M. McManus. But the next time I update you guys will be when I have finished it, and hopefully it will be soon. It's also a very short, thin book, so hopefully I can finish it maybe by tomorrow. I think maybe by tomorrow. Hopefully by tomorrow. I really hope it for tomorrow. Anyways, that is it in terms of my update, and I will see you guys next time. Okay, so it has been a while, but then again, all of these clips have been a while, but I want to jump in very quickly and give you guys an update because I finally finished book number 2, and that is Two Can Keep a Secret by Karen M. McManus. This one I end up giving 3.5 stars, but before I jump into what I thought about this book, let me just give you guys a quick summary. So this book follows a girl called Ellery who recently moved to a small town called Echo Ridge. Something happened with her mother, and so because of that, she's moving there with her twin brother to live with their grandmother. And this town has an interesting past. So many years ago, her aunt actually disappeared when she was 17, and 5 years ago, the recently crowned homecoming queen also disappeared. And both of these cases have led to nothing. They don't know what happened to them. It's basically cold cases at this point. So she goes there, and she is aware of the history of the small town, and once she arrives there shortly after, something happens again, basically informing everyone that there's going to be an open season for homecoming and essentially promising that homecoming will be just as dangerous as it was 5 years ago. So the book follows her character, but on the other hand also follows another character. His name is Malcolm, who happens to be the younger brother of the main suspect for the girl who disappeared 5 years ago. So this book follows the two of them as they try to navigate and find out what happened, as well as trying to solve the mystery of what is currently going on. So this book, for me, I think my biggest problem was that it took me a very long time to get into the story. It also took me a very long time to kind of piece together who everyone was, because this book essentially talks about 3 different cases. So all the characters in this town have some sort of role either to one case or to all of them. In a way, they're all related, right? Because some of them were there when her aunt disappeared, some of them were there 5 years ago, some of the kids in the school were younger siblings of the people who were there when that girl disappeared 5 years ago, like etc, etc. So there's a lot of interconnecting pieces and a lot of characters who, I don't know, it's just like, it was just hard for me to kind of piece together like who everyone was and what their roles were during each time period and how they might be related to the current case going on. So that took me away from this book because it took me so long to figure out who everyone was and everything else. So it wasn't until I was able to finally piece together, okay, like this person is a younger brother of this person who happens to be, you know, the ex-boyfriend of the girl who disappeared, or etc, etc. Like, it just all, like, that's what I mean by it being very complicated, because they're all somehow related but like not really. I don't know, it's just like hard to explain. Point is though, it took me a very long time to get into this book because of all the characters. However, once I figured out who everyone was, it definitely got way more interesting. There were just so many plot twists and turns going on, so many clues that was constantly being revealed, and it became much more interesting, and I became very invested with the story. And the ending was something I definitely didn't see coming. I think that the author did a fantastic job with uncovering clues one by one, and in a way that as a reader I never got the full picture until the very end. So I mean, I did see that some reviews that people figured it out really early on, but I don't know, maybe I didn't figure it out. So there's that. But then in terms of the characters though, to be honest, I didn't really care for either one. I definitely liked Ellery more. I think she was very intelligent, very quick-witted. She was able to like piece things together very quickly, as well as just think things through. But Malcolm, on the other hand, I feel like other than some vital pieces of information coming from him, I just didn't really see him as that important of a character. I feel like as a main character he should have played a bigger role, but other than a few pieces of info that came through him, like he was a pipeline, I didn't really see much of a use for him, to be honest. So that is that in terms of my thoughts for this book. Now moving on to the next book. So the next book that I'm going to be reading is this book over here, and that is On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. I just started this book this morning, I want to say. I'm currently page 66, so I haven't really made too much of progress. So I definitely hope to finish this, definitely not today, but hopefully by tomorrow. If not by tomorrow, then the next day for sure. Anyways, that is it in terms of my update, and I will check back in later. So today I have 2 books to update you guys on, because I finished one of them and then I was going to update you guys, but then I realized that I was pretty much halfway done with the other book, so I figured I'd just update you guys at the same time for both of these books. And these books are On the Come Up and Birthday by MEREDITH RUSSO. Honestly, these are both unsatisfying reads. I mean, I like them both. I give them both 3 stars, but they were just not amazing. Like, I just felt like I had a lot of expectations, especially with On the Come Up. This one I had less expectations because of various things, and I'm not going to go into it, but I just thought On the Come Up would be freaking fantastic because I loved her debut book. But anyways, let's just discuss them one by one. So let's start with On the Come Up. So this book follows a girl called Brie, whose biggest dream, her greatest dream, is to become a rapper, just like her father, who passed away due to gang violence, essentially. At the same time, she's also in high school, struggling with her grades. Not only is she struggling with her grades, she's also struggling financially with her family. Her mother is struggling with her job. Her brother, her older brother, is also struggling with a job. So her family is always on the verge of financial catastrophe. They're constantly running out of money for food, for electricity, etc. So she's struggling there as well. And not only that, but it's also hard for her to try to live her dream when she's also struggling with being labeled as a hoodlum at school and being treated disrespectfully because of the color of her skin. So one day she has the opportunity to actually record a song of hers and to vent her frustration and her anger at the world. She ends up producing a song that creates a lot of controversy after it goes viral, and not in a good way. So this book is all about that. And I don't know, I liked it, but I also like really did not like Brianna. Like, I feel like Brianna was just the most selfish character that I have ever read about. My biggest issue about her was I just found her so disrespectful and annoying and obnoxious. There were just so many incidences where she was warned not to do certain things and she did it anyways, and even herself regretted it. She was like, there was this one incident where she was like, she vented her frustration on an Instagram story, and there were like hundreds of people seeing it, and she said all these stuff, and afterward I think she like woke up the next morning and was like, oh shit, did that really happen? Oh, I shouldn't have done that. But then she was like, oh well, it's too late. And I'm just like she never really thought things through, and she was very spur of the moment kind of girl, which is fine, except that she always ended up regretting her decisions. Another big one was an incident where, it's not a spoiler by the way, where so her father passed away, like I said already, and the only heirloom I guess from her father is a necklace that her father bought many years ago, and it's jewel studded. There's like diamonds on it, some other pendants, I don't even know, but it is very like rich looking. And she also lives in the ghettos, like that's what she calls her neighborhood. She lives like in the ghetto area. Not only that, but there's also like 2 gangs in her neighborhood. So for whatever reason, she thought it would be totally fine for her to just wear it out like that and not get robbed or mugged or anything like that. And even her aunt, who actually belongs to one of the gangs, was like, you should not wear that out like that. Like, you can wear it but maybe hide it or something, but don't wear it out just like that. And did she listen? No. So things obviously didn't happen like she expected, and I was just like, why would you do that? I just feel like common sense, like, I don't know, I just feel like if you know you live in a neighborhood like that and you're aware of that, and if your aunt tells you, who belongs in a freaking gang, and tells you it's not the smart thing to do, and then she's like, well, nothing's gonna happen to me, and I'm like, I don't know, did something happen to her? Well, that's a spoiler. So yeah, I just feel like there are just so many decisions that she made that made me really question whether or not she's smart. Like, I feel like the only good thing about this book, there's like 2 good things. One is the lyrics. I felt like her ability to write these lyrics were phenomenal. I just felt like they were just so on point. They hit you right in the gut essentially, and I was just like so here for that. And the second thing that I really liked about this book was the topics that it covered, specifically racial discrimination and just being safe essentially at school because of your skin color. So in a way, it reminded me similar to The Hate You Give, but because this character was just so, like, she just didn't work for me, I ended up not liking this book as much as I love The Hate You Give. I feel like in The Hate You Give, I loved everything. The characters were on point, the topics, the plot itself. This one, I don't know, I just feel like because of this main character and the stupid decisions that she made, I was just really frustrated with her for most of this book. So I did end up giving this book 3 stars because I still enjoyed the overall plot, and I thought this book covered some serious topics in a very good way. But just that main character really made some of the plots and obviously the character development to not be the greatest. So anyways, that's all I can say for this book. I was just so excited, but unfortunately, Brianna, okay. That's it for that book. Then the next book that I want to discuss is Birthday by Meredith Russo. This one I also gave 3 stars. I don't know. Okay, so this book is told in dual perspective. It follows Morgan, who is struggling with her identity for most of this book. Right from the beginning, it is revealed that Morgan has always seen herself more of a girl rather than a boy, which is the gender that she was born in. And from the age of 13, which is when the book starts. So this book starts from age 13 to age 18, and it's broken up into different sections based on age, like the year. So the first birthday is when they turn 13, and she wanted to share to Eric, who's her best friend since their entire lives essentially. She wanted to tell him that she felt more of a girl than a boy. Of course, every time she tried to tell him, something happened, so he never really heard her or whatever, so she didn't tell him. And as the years progress, you find out that she's struggling with trying to figure out who she really is, like identify herself, trying to figure out a way to accept herself, etc. And so the book just follows her decisions and her transition, I suppose. And then on the other hand, we follow Eric, who is her best friend, like I said already. Eric for the most part is just trying to figure out what is wrong with Morgan, because as far as he's concerned, they've been best friends for so long, but for the past few years, Morgan has started to distance himself. I want to say himself because in Eric's eyes, he's not aware that Morgan is a girl essentially, but I don't really know how that works. Anyways, point is, Eric is trying to figure out why exactly is Morgan distancing himself or herself for the past few years. And so the book just follows them for 5 years essentially, and the fact that they go through so many fights and arguments and breakups, etc. So that's what this book is about. I like this book. I think this book was very emotional, and it dealt with a topic that I don't really know too much about. So I felt that this book was very enlightening for me. That being said though, I feel like my biggest issue with this book was the way how this book is written. So this book, like I said already, is broken up into birthdays. So it goes from 13 years old, and they have a few chapters, alternating perspectives, and they go to 14th birthday. And I feel like the way how this book is written, there were some years where there was a lot of information, a lot of progression. Other years felt very short. Like I felt like it just cut off and I was like, what just happened? I feel like there should be more to this. And the ending is specifically from year or birthday year 17 to 18, that transition just felt so rushed. I feel like there were just so many stuff left unanswered on the 17th birthday that by the time 18th birthday hit, I was like, I felt like there was just way too much development and I don't know what happened between, and I just felt very confused. Like I feel like the author would have done a better job if there was more information on the 17th year, because that transition honestly was way too rushed and it felt very disorienting and it kind of took me away from the book. However, I did really like the two main characters. I felt like this book was just a very emotional read for both of them, and so it was also a very emotional read for me as well, because there were just so many struggles the two of them face, so many misunderstandings and confusion because he didn't know about her, she didn't want to tell him because of various reasons, etc. So like it was just so emotional and in a good way. So I really liked the two main characters and kind of like how they come to terms with being able to trust each other again and being able to share and being able to accept one another and love, especially Morgan herself, like being able to love herself. So in a way, I'm kind of conflicted. I still give this book 3 stars. I feel like overall it was a good book, but there were just like incidences in this book that specifically like the plot and the time lapses, the jumps, just didn't really make too much sense for me. So I don't know, I feel like, yeah, that's all I can say for this book. I liked it, it just wasn't amazing. Anyways, that is it in terms of this update. It's a very long update, so I will just update you guys when I update you guys next time with another book that I read. But so far I'm doing pretty good. I think I read 4 books, I think, since I started, and it's only been maybe like 2 weeks, so not too bad. Like it could have been so much worse. So anyways, that is it in terms of my update, and I will check back in later. So I am coming today with some terrible news and just basically some disappointing news, because I actually DNF'd my first book in this video, and honestly it came as a shock because first of all, these are all books that are very high on the list of popularity or just ratings in general, and personally for me too, I had really high expectations going in because I've heard just amazing things about this author and her writing, but unfortunately this book was just not great. I ended up DNFing it around about 120, 130 pages or so, so I did try to make an effort, but unfortunately it just was not the book for me. And this book is The Fountains of Silence by RUTA SEPETYS, and you're probably like, wow. And honestly, I feel the same way, because I am kind of shocked by that. I just feel like I didn't care much for the characters or whatever was going on. I felt like the entire time I was reading it, I was just like, who is everyone? What is going on? Because the book is supposed to follow, or at least the synopsis seems that follows just 2 POVs, which is Anna as well as Daniel. And Anna works for like a housekeeper for the Hilton in Madrid, and then Daniel is the son of a oil magnate, I want to say, and so he is super wealthy, and so the two of their lives collide because Anna is asked to be in charge of his family and just cater to their needs. So that's how the two of them meet. But the thing is, this book also follows so many other perspectives, especially with Anna's other siblings. Like she has a sister, a brother, and etc, etc. And I don't know, I just felt like I was getting really confused because I guess I just like didn't expect that many POVs, and I feel like some of them I didn't care for at all. Like I only really cared about Anna and Daniel, and because there's just so many other POVs involved, I was just like, I don't really know or care about everything else that was going on. So unfortunately I ended up DNFing it because I couldn't get into it, and I feel like there's just so many other books right now that I am more interested in reading, and I just didn't want to spend more time on a book that I was not really feeling and didn't really care for. So I DNF'd it, and I'm super bummed about that, which basically means that this book is now on the last. Oh, okay, battery just died. Okay, so what was I saying? So because I DNF'd it, it means that this book is automatically on the last, like the last of this pile, or like the ranking, whatever, because I didn't finish it, so I can't really rank it either. So anyways, let me know down below if you have read any of her works, and if I should still try to pick up her first book, or if I should potentially just hold it off for a while because I don't like this one. So anyways, that is it in terms of this update, and I will check back in next time I finish hopefully finish reading another book. Hey guys, coming back with another update because I finally managed to finish another book, and that is Serious Moonlight by JENN Bennett. This one was super cute. I'm gonna give this book a 4-star. So this book follows a girl called Birdie who has been raised very strictly by her grandparents. Her mother died when she was 10 years old, and so ever since then she's been living with her grandparents, and she was homeschooled and was living in isolation with them. So she's kind of, it is her own little world. She has a whimsical fantasy about being a detective. Like, she is super into mysteries, being a detective, being a PI, etc, etc. So she kind of sees the world as a very, like, with very cynical eyes in a way. Like, she thinks everyone's a suspect. And then one day she decides to get a job, and she works at the graveyard shift at a hotel in downtown Seattle. And prior to that, when she was applying for the job, she somehow meets a guy, and for the first time she decides to, like, they have a connection and things happen from there. However, right after it's done, she kind of freaks out a little bit and she rushes away, and lo and behold, a month later, I think it's about a month later, she finds herself the job, her first day, and guess who's also working there? That guy. So of course, as the book continues, they work together, they find the case to solve. It's a little awkward at first, but ends up being super cute, and there's just so much more to this book. And basically, as the book continues, Birdie finds out so much about herself, you know, trying to come to terms with the fact that she might actually have feelings for the guy. So it's just like a really cute book, guys, and I really liked it. I think my favorite part were definitely the characters. They're just so adorable together, and I also really like the detective elements too, because that's just something I see or read too much about, because there are just so many references of Nancy Drew and other, like, Hercule Poirot, like the other great detective. So it's just like kind of interesting to see like all those little references in this book. But yeah, that's all I can really say about this book, because overall this is just a really cute contemporary young adult fiction. There's not like a ton of things going on. It's a very straightforward type of book, but I really liked it. It was super cute. So if you're looking for a really cute, adorable young adult fiction, then this is definitely the book for you. I do think I liked her other book, Alex Approximately, a little better, but this is also really cute too, so definitely recommend this one. Hey guys, so back with another update in terms of my reading, because honestly it has been going great, but I did manage to finish another book, and that is The Rest of the Story by Sarah Dessen. I'm gonna give this book 3 stars. I feel like maybe I just not in the right age range anymore, or I just feel like I grew out of it or something like that. But I used to love her books back in the day, and for some reason this one just didn't really resonate with me as much as her previous books did. So this book follows a girl called Sailor / Emma, like technically her name is Emma Sailor, and she has been living with her father and her grandmother for the longest time. Like, growing up, her mother passed away when she was younger, I want to say. There was some sort of like addiction problems there, and one day her dad finally remarries and they go on a honeymoon. Things happen though, and her original plan of where she was going to stay during their honeymoon was something happened. Like, basically something happened there. So now at this point she has turned to her mom's side of the family, whom she hasn't seen for the longest time. Like, I think the last time she went there she was like 3 or 4 years old. So since then she has no recollection of her mom's family. She has no idea who they are. She didn't even know who they existed, etc. And so she goes there and decides to spend the next 3 weeks there while her dad is on his honeymoon with his new wife. And from there she finds out more about her mom's history and kind of more about her mom's family, etc. And I feel like it was a very heartwarming novel, but for whatever reason it just didn't really connect with me as much. I feel like I just didn't really care too much about the characters, and I feel like the flow of the book just wasn't as flawless as I remembered it to be from her previous books. So I don't really know what's up with that, but I just feel like I just wasn't in the right headspace, really, I guess, or just basically I feel like I outgrew her books. And so for me personally, I feel like this wasn't really the book for me, so I'm giving it 3 stars. I feel like this book did have a lot of important messages in terms of family and kind of finding your past and learning more about who you are, with a big emphasis on family, of course. But I don't know, I just feel like this book was okay, and it wasn't as amazing as I was expecting it to be, especially with Sarah Dessen. You know, like, she was one of my favorite authors growing up. So that being said, I'm a little bit disappointed, but not that much, I want to say. Like, I feel like I still enjoyed it, it just wasn't amazing. So yeah, 3 stars, but it is what it is. So anyways, that is it in terms of this particular update. It's a very short update this time around, but I feel like this wasn't really much for me to say in terms of my thoughts and feelings. A very quick book to read, it's very straightforward. But anyways, that is it in terms of this particular update, and I will check back in next time when I finish yet another book. Okay guys, so I have been a little MIA with this vlog, but I have 2 updates to update you guys today. The first one is Opposite of Always by Justin A. Reynolds. This one I'm going to give 2 stars. I feel like I just really didn't care for the story at all. So this book followed a boy. His name is Jack, and one day he ends up at this party, meets a girl called Kate, and they basically fall in love. They have like 4 months of kind of relationship, back and forth, you know, all the angst of a teenage relationship, and then suddenly she passes away. And upon hearing that, he somehow, like, something happens to him and he time travels and ends up 4 months in the past, where he once again meets Kate at this party and starts all over again. And this book, I would say, took so long for this time traveling thing to happen. It didn't really occur until like 100 or so pages into this book, and for me that took forever. I just felt like it seemed so draggy and I didn't really understand it, and I feel like the main character for the most part was kind of dumb as well. Like, he was definitely not the brightest candle. He made a lot of decisions. I was like, I feel like that's kind of stupid. And not only that, but the way how the book ended, like the ending just felt very rushed, and I felt like the author or the character was just like, oh, like, I just feel like it was just so obvious as to how the book should have played out for the ending, and that's exactly how it happened and how, you know, that book ended. So it goes to show for me that main character just wasn't bright. Like, he took a very long time for him to get to that point. So I don't know, I feel like I just didn't care much for this book. I didn't really care for the characters, especially the main characters. Like, just so many decisions that he made throughout his attempts to try to save Kate was just not the smartest. And I don't know, I just felt like it was very predictable in terms of how this book should have ended or the way things should have been, and it was exactly the way how I imagined it to be. So unfortunately, it was definitely not a favorite, and 2-star it is. Okay, so my second update is The Princess and the Fangirl by Jessica Poston. This is my only audiobook for this entire vlog. I give this book 3 stars. I feel like it was just okay. This book follows in the same world as the first book, and it follows 2 girls. One is Jessica, who is the actress who plays the princess in the whole big TV series, and then the other character is Imogen, who is just a regular fangirl, a very diehard fangirl of the series. And the 2 of them, due to circumstances, end up swapping places, and of course things kind of go from there. I feel like this book was just okay. I feel like Jessica, for the most part, was very underwhelming. I didn't really care too much for her character. I definitely enjoyed Imogen a lot more, but at the same time, there are definitely a lot of situations and decisions that she made that was very selfish to me and didn't seem to really like understand or see the full picture. There's also a romance in here, or 2 romances in here, that I felt like were cute and I enjoyed reading about them, but there was nothing really special about any of it. So overall, I feel like this book was just very okay. Like, it was cute, I enjoyed it, but it was nothing special. I definitely enjoyed the first book of the series way more, so it is very unfortunate that I thought this way, because I was really hoping that I will love it. So anyways, that is it in terms of this update. It's a very quick update, unfortunately, but it is what it is. I feel like I think I have one more book to update you guys on, one more book to read. I was going to originally pick up the series as well, but I haven't picked it up at all, and this video is actually very late already. I wanted to get this out like a month ago, but I feel like I'm just not great when it comes to very long TBRs. So anyways, that is it into this update, and I will check back in later with my last book. I think it's my last book. Hey guys, so I am finally here with the ending for this very long, lengthy vlog that has taken me, originally I wanted to plan this for 2 months, but I think it's taken 3, possibly even 4 months to film this video. There's just too many books there, and it took a really long time to actually read them all. So I am finally done with the last book, and that is The Grey Seer by Kim Liggett. This one I want to give 2 stars. For this book, after I read it, I literally just sat there and just stared into space, because I just could not really fully comprehend what I had just read. I was literally like, what the fuck did I just read? Because this book was just weird. It was just so bizarre. I felt like I was in a lucid dream half the time, and I didn't really know exactly what was going on. There was just so many elements to it, and I felt like even the characters, I mean, the characters definitely didn't know what was going on half the time. So for me as a reader, I was also very confused. So this book is about a girl, I believe her name is Tierney or Tierney, I feel like I definitely butchered that name. In this society where she's from, there is some sort of perception that girls have these magics. So during their lifetime, once they hit a certain age, they have to go off into the Grey Seer, and the Grey Seer means that these group of girls at the same age travel for like 2 days to this really random remote encampment area, and they're supposed to get rid of their magic before they can come home and get married and just continue on with their lives. So for Tierney, her only goal in life is to not be a wife. Like, that's all she wants to do. She'd rather work in the labor area, be a free woman, not have to have a husband and listen to what the husband have to tell her, because in this society, women are very second-class citizens. It's always the male who have the entire say. They are the ones who tell them what they can do, what they cannot do. However, once it's that time for the Grey Seer for her, she finds out that her best friend, who is a guy, has betrayed her because he has picked her as his wife. So rather than being able to come back as a free woman, do labor, etc., she now has to come back and be his wife. And so this book just follows her Grey Seer experience with the other girls, and it was just so weird. I feel like there were just so many elements to this book that just didn't make sense to me. Like, I feel like this book was just too smart for me. And then in terms of the plot, like the whole magic system and what the girls were going through, like I just didn't really understand like why, like what exactly is this magic. Like, it was just never fully explained or understood, for me at least. And it wasn't until the end when it was like explained that I was like, oh, I see. But the entire time, like until the very end, it was just kind of like, oh, we have magic, we're women, we have magic, and we have to get rid of it, and our magic are kind of like all over the place. Not only that, but there's actually this huge incel love going on, which I did not understand. So I don't know, I just didn't like the romance in here. There's just elements to it it was just weird. So the only positive thing I would say about this book is that it definitely had a lot of strong female messages that I really enjoyed reading about. A lot of like female empowerment and just female power overall. So that was the best part about this book for me. But unfortunately, I feel like everything else was just kind of a miss for me. So that's why I give this book ultimately a 2-star. So anyways, that is it with this book. And now I'm just going to go through all the books very quickly in terms of the rating, and I'll go from highest to lowest. The best and first book I believe that I read for this video is With the Fire on High by ACEVEDO. This one I gave 5 stars. It was so good. Next up is Serious Moonlight by JENN. This one I gave 4 stars. Then I read Two Can Keep a Secret by Karen McManus. This one I gave 3.5 stars. Next up is On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. This one I gave 3 stars. Then I read The Rest of the Story by Sarah DESSEN. This one I also gave 3 stars. The next book that I read was The Princess and the Fangirl by Ashley Poston. This is the only audiobook that I read during this entire time. This one I also gave 3 stars. Then I read Birthday by Meredith Russo. This one I also gave 3 stars. Next up is The Grey Seer by LIGGETT. This one I gave 2 stars. I also read The Opposite of Always by Justin A. Reynolds. This one I gave 2 stars. And the last book on this list that I tried to pick up, didn't finish, I DNF'd it, was The Fountains of Silence by RUTA SEPETYS. So basically, in terms of the ranking, I would say that this pile is basically how I saw it. Well, obviously Princess and the Fangirl isn't on here, but yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is that the only book on here that really deserved a 5 stars that I didn't read already was this book over here. Everything else was just okay. There were definitely some books in here that have very important messages. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it was like very important. I love the topics, I love the discussions that the book had, but I think that either the characters or maybe just the romance or just some other aspect of it just like put me off. So unfortunately, the only book that I really loved in this entire video was this one over here. So anyways, that is it in terms of this reading vlog. Let me know down below if you have read any of the books that I mentioned in here. Do you agree with some of my rankings on here? If there were any books that you didn't agree with what I had to say, let me know down below as well. But as always, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe down below, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!